Good morning, archival watchers. We're getting set up. This is a guestless stream while I do animation. There might be a couple minutes of silence. Don't worry, everything's going according to plan. Let's get a little animating music. I think that'll be fun. And now I wait. Probably should have cleaned my desk more, but that's how it is. It's just how it is. Okay. I think we can improve how that reads if we just raise the shoulder a little bit. And the trick about lifting the shoulder in transforms like this is your pivot point's actually going to be here where the clavicle meets the sternum, because freakishly enough, that's the only place on your body where your arms actually connect to the rest of your skeleton. So that's actually where the motion of the arms pivots from, not the shoulder joint necessarily. Not for when you're lifting your arm or lowering it. So, yeah, everything else is just floating. And that, you know, same instance. I think this will look better if it's lower, so we're gonna, again, find the clavicle when we rotate that. Maybe, you know, relax it a little bit, but let's see how that reads. Maybe a little bit better. Oh yeah, I like that better. So, we're doing sketches for this shot today, and I'm hoping to get them all done. We've only got a couple left, and we'll probably go for about 2 hours, so ending at 11:20. This is first thing in the morning for me, so I literally just got up and was like, well, we need to finish this shot. So here we are. It's been snowing like non-stop for 2 days. It's still coming down. I've got a window to my left here. I'm watching it. While I drink water, I did get water before I started. Good morning to anyone who has come in. Alright. No fussing, we gotta actually draw at this point. Let's not have the hair just yet. I want to figure out how everything else is moving first. No, it reads okay. Is the scale of that right? You always have to check back to your first frame, make sure no one's shrinking. But I do worry he's shrinking a little bit, so let's grab him. 105%, huh? How's that? No. About 102. That's fine. there's no guests today, because this is not something I can do while I'm hearing people talk in my ear, unfortunately. There's just something about it where it's like, doesn't really, the brain doesn't want to do it if I'm putting this off. Um, Hi, Mike64. I don't know. The John and Roxy scenes that a lot of people responded to really well in Act 6, I was just kind of staring at the screen like, um, thinking these people sounded like absolute sociopaths, and I shouldn't say that word, that's a bad word to use to describe it, but like, this moment that was supposed to be very emotional, it just seemed like very detached in a strange way, you know? Like, um, it there's just something like so off about it, and that feeling kind of continued through Act 6 for me. Like, I the things that people should kind of be upset about didn't really seem to be occurring to them. Um, so that's not really an answer to your question. Probably, I mean, you know, like that's pretty open ended. I think any two people, um, like especially when they're that young and they have so much growing to do, it's hard to answer, right? But I know a lot of people like the ship, so that's good. But yeah, all the characters at the point of Act 6 kind of just started to disturb me. And what I was just picking up on was that Homestuck was starting to have sort of problems with itself, and like existential problems. And those have kind of continued on. That's a good read with the aspects. That's an interesting way to look at shipping. I'd be open to hearing more about that. Let's get the hood in there. It should probably be moving a little bit more. And really, I should be saving the cape, the hood, and the hair for the last, because they're not really responding to the rest of the movement in the body like everything else is going to be. There's also going to be wind to consider. Things like that. There's kind of a threshold where animation can actually get easier the more things are going on to influence like how a form is going to move into space, because then you can kind of say, you can just say anything, right? You can say, oh, of course the cape's moving like this. There's all these different things that kind of go into the movement to make it feel more chaotic. Cyclonials, I have tomorrow off, so I might sit down and play it then. Um, some folks expressed interest in me recording that, so maybe I'll do it. And I'll have my thoughts. I can't promise they'll be charitable, but I do always think his work is interesting. I do always think it's relevant, even when I tend to disagree with its theses immensely. But that's like, That's true of so many other works of art that I don't bother sitting down to think with. So, I guess if you want to take that as a compliment, I guess you can. I don't know. It's like I also think a lot about the current American political condition, and that's not a compliment, now is it? America's a farce of a country. Okay, so that's since this shoulder is retreating in space, I can't have that line moving forward like that. I've got to move it back. And I don't even know if it's clear what I'm talking about. Ugh. There we go. Let's also shape the wrist a little bit more here. Kind of like with the clavicle, the wrist doesn't really rotate from where you would expect. It's a little bit farther forward because the main bump of where the wrist is turning into the arm, those are actually just like the static ends of the radius and the ulna, and it's a bunch of little metacarpals resting on top of that in this weird chunk of like this crowd of bones that are all sliding around on top of it. So anatomy is really just figuring out, you know, where things are attached to each other. There, that finally looks right. Okay. I'm not gonna draw in his hair, I don't think. Well, maybe I will. A little bit. Just a little sketch. Okay, fun. Now we get to actually draw a new frame. Well, how has everybody else been? And I know that's a pretty loaded question nowadays. Do I think that Kankria and Arania will get along? Well, they're both dead, um, forever because the dream bubbles exploded, so they're gone. Um, at the end of canon Homestuck, Act 8, obviously, it's like there's still some ghosts, but Cancree um, is a really interesting character. He's kind of coping with the conditions of being a mutant on Beforus. Like, uh, he's internalized a lot of things, obviously, and Arania is the most evil person in the comic, I think, which I love that for her. I think she's a wonderful character, and I think that's a great thing. But she's delightfully despicable, right? So Cancri mentions, and sorry, this is about to get like kind of into some more of the contentious content of Homestuck. He mentions something called the Blue Bloods burden, which is analogous to like extremely racist philosophies um, in the history of like American and British and imperial societies. And Arania sort of like embodies that in her behavior. That line is supposed to provide context for Arania's behavior and code Arania's behavior as the behavior of a racist colonizer. So unfortunately for Cancri, they probably would get along because that is the psychological condition that Cancri's in. right now, where he's like, um, he's trying to cope with that society that he's in, uh, but it sucks. Yeah, I'm probably. Tend to turn things down a little bit lower. Why don't I just turn everything up a little bit? Yeah. Because I don't want to peak. I think I was peaking before earlier, so let's just turn everything up a little bit. There's also some music in the background, but I don't know. Let's get everything back to like 10 and 6. How about that? So now you don't have to like crank the audio on your PC. Let's get back to drawing Dave. It's funny you should ask that, Mike, because we just went on a thread yesterday about using Franz Fanon to read Homestuck, which I think proves pretty productive. Ugh. Hate. What I really hate is this right here. Trying to describe that moment where we see like the mass of the shoulder and like the shoulder blade come into rotation. Hate it. Ugh, nasty. Nasty. Very nasty. Oh. Okay, here we go. I could just count that as a sketch for that frame. Oh no, I can't, because this is all confused. That'll be fine, right? There we go. Do I think Tamara will be happy if Feferi became her friend? That's not a dynamic I've considered before. That's interesting. It would be contextualized, of course, by Damara's experiences with Mina. Possibly negatively. I don't think Damara is really, like, as an extremely traumatized person, and she doesn't seem to be looking for new relationships. Um, she seems to have been kind of pushed to the point of being completely nihilistic about her interactions with other people. And like, same girl, but maybe, potentially, like there could be a chance for some healing there. Damara's pessimistic at this point, but I'm not. Because I'm a grown-up and I've kind of moved past that stage of being a young, traumatized person. I like to think so, anyway. Okay. We are listening to the Hades soundtrack, by the way. I still haven't played the game, but my best friend has been. And she's linked me a lot of the music, so I've been enjoying that. Yeah, Janai has a point. At that point, like you have a lot of room. Oh no, is this actually going well? I'm gonna feel so silly if I had like the hardest time with this last night, and then I'm gonna be done in like 20 minutes. And then well, at least we'll get to line art then, right? So it's fine. Yes, that arm is changing size right there. No, I don't care. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Maybe we do like that, where it's... the cross guard's like almost... Why do they have a pointy cross guard like that? You're gonna hit yourself, buddy. And we're getting some weirdness with the sleeve there. I probably need to move it back. I think that's true. I think there's also, I think what we're finding to happen now is that the text proves resilient to some things. Like, it's not an empty vessel. It has an agenda. And so to get something you want out of it, you need to confront the text's agenda. And if you don't, then you're going to be very confused when people respond to your interpretation negatively. And it's probably because there's some negative agenda going on in the text that you didn't respond to. This isn't specific to anything we were talking about. It's just something I think about a lot. Like, wanting Homestuck to be good representation. I get that. I would like that too, but I just don't think it's that kind of story. I think it's a story very mired in like a bad psychology, and I think it's okay for art to, well, maybe not okay, but like art is that way sometimes, and at least for Homestuck, I think the best you can do with it is interpret it as a product of that psychology, and you're only gonna get meaningful liberation from something like Homestuck if you're seeing it like as a place to develop from, not a place that has any kind of blueprint about how to do stuff. See, I sort of just kind of trail off on my ideas now while I'm also trying to draw this sword. If I just get this elbow up, I don't think the elbow's in the right spot. Yeah. That's okay, because I don't go to Homestuck looking for good intentions. Like, I wised up at this point. But I think people that do are gonna get burned. I think we watched that happen last year. And you can blame some parts of the fandom, sure. But, you know, people who think our fandom isn't exceptionally bad are kind of in denial. The thing is, it's that way for a reason. Like, the precedent of extreme disrespect was set by, like, classic internet. So I'm very interested to maybe get into Psychocolonials at some point and see if it's what thesis it is about like 2009 versus 2020, because I'll be very excited if it's making some kind of comparison there, because I think I can guess um, the kind of cynicism that you might have if you're a person in Andrew's situation trying to reflect on that. But I won't get into that too early. I haven't even played the game yet, so he was in the position to change the tone of fandom, but like the epilogues, right? The epilogues are very callous and contentious and provocative, and that's sort of the bedrock of like that's establishing a kind of relationship, and that's kind of what he got back. And nothing has surprised me in the last couple years. Yeah, it it wouldn't be fine, but you know, if this could stay compartmentalized into the art, I guess. Um, Unfortunately, it's kind of a you are what you eat situation, I think. So the idea that this was supposed to improve anything is very funny to me. Not to laugh, not to be. Oh, not to be uncharitable. Me, never, 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 never. Never been uncharitable. uh, this shot has taken so long to do because Dave is my least favorite character. I should calm down about Dave Strider. He's basically fine. Um, but I think, like, there are so many, like, frictions, and this guy just doesn't, I don't know. I think he sucks. I think his opinions are bad, and I think he treats people in sort of a lame way. And everybody loves him, which kind of makes it worse. You know, like, eventually you get a little spiteful. I can't help it. I'm normal. Um, oh, why do so many people hate the Friends of Impester Quest? That's a good question. I'm gonna get up and turn off the heat because it's getting a little too warm. I don't like it because I think, well, I've only seen a little bit of Friend Sim, but I did look at it, and I thought the writing was bad. I thought it was bad in there. I went in there for a bit. I looked around. I thought it was bad in there. The writing just felt very awkward to me. And the only route, one of the only early routes I did see was Marcy. Um, and it opens with her. This is a very interesting array of scenes. We open with her cleaning graffiti. She's cleaning graffiti off the wall. And a purple blood comes up to defend the graffiti as, like, culturally important art. And then the narration disparages the graffiti because it's, like, got a rude word or something on it. Like, this couldn't be valuable art. And I'm just... That is such a fascinating little exchange, right? Like, what is that about? That's so interesting. Um... That's such a dumb thing to do. Like, that's so stupid, right? Like, that's so stupid. Um, it's it's such a bizarre thing to write. Um, and I might, if I play more Friends, it's gonna be looking for more stuff like that because it just seems like it's like that. Like, it doesn't understand. I don't know what the problem is. So if I am gonna hate Friendsim, it's because of, like, when I'm looking at something it's trying to describe to me sociologically, and very bizarre, or it's reminiscent of weird understandings. And it's got like weird culturally loaded symbols that are like in friction what it's trying to say, and it just seems like it's not informed writing. It just doesn't. It doesn't. The structure just seems so bizarre. Um, so that's probably. I imagine that's what I would find if I kept playing Friend Sim. That's why I would dislike it. Pester Quest, I don't like it because it's really just kind of a gaze into the fandom tensions that exist post canon, which are a competition to reify like certain readings, um, and some of those are like positive and nice, and that's fine. And others are just again like these sociologically very strange conclusions, like that Terezi's route ends with Terezi and Vriska being the one to lead a rebellion for Lowbloods, and they don't talk to any Lowbloods. They don't what it's very it's like we were talking before about the way that Arania's behavior is is described in the text and the context it's given sort of retroactively problematizes the idea that Terezi and Vriska can be the leaders of any meaningful social change. Because if that was an option, why hasn't that happened before? And why is it these people in this position of society that are leading that charge? So I don't hate, but like Friendship and Pesterquist, I just think they're kind of stupid. Um, and I can say that because I'm stupid, and everybody's stupid sometimes. But like, just it's so it's got the things it has to say are so confused, um, and I just can't get anything out of that. Okay, sorry, we're going back to animating now. I'll stop being a bitch for a couple seconds. And like, when I say those things, I'm not coming at anybody with a pitchfork. I'm just saying, like, you might want to think about this stuff. Um, like, I can't tell you you're right when you're wrong, you know? Like, I just can't do that. That doesn't help anybody. You know, maybe if there was a friend, like, maybe if they wanted to expand on the Marcy thing, they could explain that no, she does like graffiti, she just doesn't like, um, certain kinds of, like, graffiti, like, from people out of town, so to speak. I don't know. You'd have to revisit that, and you have to be careful to look like you're not just watching what you were doing. But graffiti's good. Burn train buffers. Burn train buffers. Go to hell, Ed Koch. Dave, you're shrinking. Stop that. There we go. That's fine. My sketches are very loose because I actually hate to draw and I think it's dumb. If you draw, you're a chump like me. Don't do it, kids. Um, this shoulder's moving way too much. Gotta calm that down, buddy. How's that sword? It's scored a little bit, but we don't care. do I think is worse, Aroden or Cronus like Aroden? Cronus. Okay, so Aroden's 13. Does love genocide a whole bunch, but he's 13, so like it's a little hard to condemn teenagers for replicating power structures they're born into, but he does really love genocide like a lot. So we're gonna go D- for Aroden. Cronus is an adult and is kind of skeevy and predatory, and is just sort of there to make the audience uncomfortable, and that sucks too. I don't know. See, the thing is, you shouldn't ask me about Emporas because I don't like them. My brain turns off. I think it's great when people do like Emporas and are very productive about it. You know, I've seen like Crow's work is great, but you can't ask me to give you thoughts about Emporas because I don't. I choose not to. But that's fine. I don't have to, right? I think the text was like worse. We're just talking about, do I respect Homestuck's intentions? I respect them much, much less with Cronus. So technically, Cronus is worse in the sense that Homestuck had worse intentions and was being lazier when writing him. And I don't really respect what they were trying to do with Cronus. I would hang out with Crow's Cronus, probably. I would never hang out with any version of Aroden, though, so I'll say that much. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't hang out with any Zahhak ever, either. I just don't like them, I'm sorry. I'm being nasty. When I say that, I'm really just kind of like, responding to what, like, Homestuck had to say. Can I just... should probably do this, huh? So I'm very negative on this stream, just like, I don't like Friendsim, I don't like PesterQuest, I don't like Equius, I don't like Aroden. I think Aroden has potential to be rehabilitated, because Aroden's a child, but, yeah. Yeah, why is Horus even there? Can we just skip Horus? There's a lot. I know folks like the Horse Boys. I think that's okay. I don't really care. But we're sort of... I don't really know. Maybe I can do this here. Okay, here we go. Maybe like this. This is hard because we're trying to get like this sword swipe here, and I want to get like an extension of the arm. You got to show the full extension, like here, that arm's straight there. We sort of want to see that again. But the body is also already starting to turn at this point, so we're... Oh, that's probably okay. And you're shrinking again, dude. Stop that. Ugh. Well, maybe you have to shrink a little bit. Yeah. Sorry, I was animating for a second. Even if I don't personally like a character, it doesn't mean I don't think there's nothing productive to do with them. And I'm not gonna, like, lecture people for how they approach that, because since I'm not interested in the character, I'm not gonna know. So, if anyone's listening, don't be discouraged about what you want to do with a character that compels you. I could use my generic reading of, like, the text and its symbols to maybe approach these guys, but I don't know if that would necessarily satisfy anyone who is really looking for something that focus on them. I like this sketch just fine for here. I think it works. Here, let's... Yeah, I think that sort of shape there. Can teenagers read Homestuck? Oh boy. I told my little sister not to read it past a certain point. I don't think teenagers are really equipped to recognize, like, it's kind of like, should my teenage sister hang out with my dysfunctional uncle who, like, can't... No, my dysfunctional cousin who, like, can't really get his life sorted out. Like, no. Like, no, probably not. Not unsupervised, anyway. Not because my cousin's, like, a creep or anything, but just because, like, that guy is dysfunctional and he's kind of at a point in his life where he can't help anybody. And that's how I feel about Homestuck, you know? So I wouldn't leave teens alone with Homestuck past Act 5, because Homestuck becomes so, like, frustrated and existential and starts taking it out on you. And that's... Like, at that point, I think you have to be a grown-up, like an adult person, an adult independent person, in order to engage with that, if you choose to. That's maybe sounding a little severe, but... me, severe never. But teens do read Homestuck. That's the reality we're in. Like they just do. So then what do we do with that? You know? It's hard to like explain to young people that someone they admired and looked up to and maybe shared a lot of positive experiences with um, wasn't really good for them. But that's sort of something you realize as you grow up. Like the adults or like the older people in your life that you spend a lot of time around didn't have all the answers and they had their own problems. And maybe even the ones who tried to be very responsible were ultimately, you know, not good role models, or you know, some of their baggage kind of shown through. That's part of like the awkward things about adolescence. You know, you start to kind of pick up on the dysfunction of the conditions around you. At least for me. I don't know. Maybe other people live in like well-adjusted homes that aren't broken, but okay. So the near shoulder is gonna have to lift up a little bit, I think. There's gonna be a long rest into this pose. Like there's a lot of settling to do, so maybe a lot of frames to draw. That's gonna suck for me, but so does a lot about this project. So I think we're gonna need one more frame. Near the end. And it's gonna be 13 frames after all, just like... Oh, just like the last one. Ah. How far have we gotten? Let's try and find the torso. At least. Okay, no, this shoulder is lifting. I gotta remember that. Torso's twisting, shoulders lifting. This maybe has to lower a little bit. Maybe break the elbow? Oh, teens absolutely. Teens are the majority of readers, even today. Teens, like, the internet as a social space, um, whether we like it or not, sort of like kind of belongs to them in a sense. Like, you can try to create other spaces, and you probably should, but outside of like locked communities, which you don't really have unless you go to places like Dreamweaver or something, like there's just not a space online where teens aren't. Um, and all you can kind of do is use that information productively, I guess. Like if it's on social media, the kids are just there on social media. I don't like this pose. It looks like he's hunching. That's not what I want. Hunch less, buddy. That's a little better. If I just draw more lines, one of them will be correct. That's a very bad habit. There are ways you can sort of market yourself and there are lots of ways you can communicate expectations to your audience. Um, you can sort of use that. Like, I don't see a lot of teens into Kill 6 Billion Demons. Even though, interestingly enough, that one might be uh, slightly more appropriate. I don't know. I wouldn't. I can't say because I don't remember exactly what it was like being a teenager anymore. I'm getting too old. I'm gonna be 30 in a year and a half or so. I don't know. I can't count either. We're just gonna go with this and say it's fine. It's not only that I'm too old to remember how to be a teenager, I also like blocked a lot of those years out because they were bad. I think I can fix this. Here, let's... There, that's gonna be better. It's less hunched. I don't think those glasses are in the right place, necessarily, but... No, they're not at all. Okay, never mind. Ugh, that looks like garbage. I'm so tired of working on this. I reached the point of not wanting to work on Resolve anymore like a year ago, but I keep going. I don't quit. Um, you know, like, up to Act 5, it's a little. It gets a little risky, here and there, but, like, it's got teenage characters. It's very much trying to talk about adolescence. Um, and I think I think it could have been something that I would say, yeah, young people are okay to watch this or look at this. It's hard to say because like let's look at something that's very popular with people who like Homestuck. Let's look at Revolutionary Girl Utena. Should teenagers watch that? Certain teenagers, yeah. Certain teenagers, unfortunately, like are in that situation right now. That work could help them. But that's only because it's done in such like a specific way where it's trying to be very productive about that and it's very gentle with people who are in that situation, very understanding to them. And but it then at the end tells them in no uncertain terms you need to get out of there. Um, but like with Homestuck, it's just the same thing where there's a level of dysfunction and existential horror like in the story where it doesn't help anyone. No characters inside Homestuck are helped. No one who reads Homestuck I think is meaningfully. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like if you were helped by Homestuck, good for you. But I just think like teenagers who come into Homestuck are probably not going to leave with like as productive messaging as they would with a different story. The problem is like you have to kind of make that decision and the worst thing about being a teenager is you have to make decisions and you don't have experience. Um, and that leads to a lot of really scary and awful situations. Okay, well this head is not drawn correctly at all. I can't get it to work. I'm a hack. Oh, you're still hunched, my guy. We gotta fix that. Because you just look at like where the neck needs like room to actually connect to the body, you know? But it looks better down. Let's see. Let's lift it and turn it down again, maybe. And then I kind of want, like I said, a lot of those settling frames because I want The pose to settle slowly while like the cape and the cloak are still kind of whipping around. So let's start just... I did illegal math. Not allowed. I've read some of Vast-Error. I need to catch up. I've contributed to Vast-Error. I've done music, I've done animation and art for them. I did some album art for the Dead Shufflers album. Austin and I worked together in Act 8 when it first started. I had to I had to stop doing fan work for a while because my life situation was a little too hectic. I just couldn't really afford to spend any time on it. I keep wanting to do I want more sword in this for some reason. I just want more sword in the shot. This doesn't look how I wanted. I don't know what I want though. I guess I want that. With like that arm retreating far into the foreground. That'll work. So then what we do is we kind of shrink this and we just say it's like, yeah. So for you need to be pointed down, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There. Just egghead because I'm tired. I'm so tired. Okay. And now we need another frame between these two. And let's give ourselves a different color so we can tell them apart. And then this one can be green. Dark green so we can actually see it. Okay, so we can find certain landmarks like where the chin is going. Where the wrist is. Just gotta find the landmarks essentially. Where the palm is. Don't know how to cope with that because we go from here to here, so you'd want like something like that, I think, but maybe this. Okay, let's see how that works. Oh, nasty. Art's bad. I don't like it. Ugh, change my mind. Change my mind. Throw the whole art out. Can I have blue, please? I just want to have blue, please. I would just love to have a blue color. That would make me very happy. Okay. Okay, so now, let's get, oh. Are you in every? Yes, you are. I hate that. Let's get rid of the undersketch. We don't need it. We don't need it anymore. You don't need to be huge either. Little side window there. I just realized how wide that one was. That's quite a lot. Bad news, everybody. I think the settle actually has to be. I think this frame is a waste of time. Let's check. Yeah. That frame was a waste of time, which sucks, because it was like a perfectly fine drawing. Like, I like that drawing. Maybe I can do something about it. Yeah, I think I can. Okay, so what if we just shrank that arm? No, it looks weird, but don't worry. Because we were slowing down the swing a little too much. There we go, I think. Maybe you too, even. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Then we break the elbow there, and we just settle in. I like it. I like it. That's gonna work fine. Okay. Do we need one more? I'm gonna be so lazy and just say yes, we do. Yeah, from now on, the part of Dave in this animation will be replaced by stock footage of a pineapple. See, look at this shit. 13 frames! 13 frames he wants! He's unreasonable. He's just unreasonable. Look at him. I'm gonna do one more hour. I'm gonna let my brain rest. Because we sort of did. The sketches aren't like really done, but I'm tired of it and I want to do lines instead. I want to feel like we're getting closer to done. Checking my Twitter notifications. We're trying to talk if Dave would like Weezer and Green Day. No, Dave would say he doesn't like Weezer, and so, sorry, I'm reading my notifications. You guys can't even see these. Never mind. We'll not get into that. We'll not have discourse about Dave's music taste today. I don't think. Also, hello, Mallow. How you doing? Okay. Now it's time. I think it's time to do some line art, so. So we've finally come all this way. And now I just get to do. I get to do the worst part. I should probably open another shot for reference. Let's get another Dave. Here's another Dave. You guys aren't going to be able to see him, I don't think. Because I'm going to drag him off screen and just have him as reference. Well, that's good. I've been meaning to get like a little painting corner set up in the living room for too long now, but my roommate sort of took over it with quarantine to have a workspace, so. That's not a good excuse anymore, because now he's unemployed, but I'm busy. I'm busy line arting these Daves, clearly. Can we just do that? Is this gonna be fine? I never know where to start on line arting. Like, everywhere seems like a bad choice. To make it easier on myself, I at one point decided that the line art would be sort of in this more geometric sensibility, because that makes the choices a little bit easier. Like, this is sort of an easier shape to figure out than if you're trying to, like, in a very nuanced way, get those curves right. Before I really got started on this part of the animation, my friend and I watched a lot of the old Digimon movies. And their sensibilities are really effective. Like, in just how they construct the shapes and move things around. Like, it's a deceptive simplicity. I've kind of borrowed some of their tricks, like the brightly colored line art. Kind of gives a surreal feeling. It's fun. Oh, that's fine, right? I can get away with that looking that way. Oh. Now, what I don't like is this thing happening right here, where it's like that flattens the shapes out a little too much. So let's just get that out of there. That's better. Concave or convex? I never know. I think we're going with concave there. I think that'll be fine. I just looked at that sword and I said no. Not today. Yes, today, but not right now. Ugh, hands were a mistake. That shouldn't. That just shouldn't be. just gotta keep reminding myself that everything's just only gonna be on there for about 1/10 of a second, so if it's something like that where the shapes are implied, that'll be okay. In fact, that's probably fine. Like, if you look at that, that's silly, but it won't be silly when it's moving. I will lift up that thumb a little bit, though. Gonna have to get the old version of this shot, because I did this shot once before, and it just wasn't right, you know? So at the very least we can probably borrow some of the swords. Maybe some of the hands. Can I take this sword? No, I can't. Well, that's where it can live. It can be here, I think. Oh yeah, that'll be fine. We'll have to redo maybe the hand or the hilt like a little bit, but that'll be basically okay there when we get there. Are there any more? Yes, I did redo this entire thing because it was just wasn't right. Ugh. See, this is where my hubris comes to get me. Let's see if we can... maybe something like that. It's really with the hard surface objects that you can't get away with as much bullshit. They're incredibly specific forms, so... had some interesting questions earlier today, but I think that that person signed off, so... Now I don't know what to say. I think the pommel's gonna have to be a little bit larger to sell the foreshortening. We could talk about how Dave sucks. He's... I'm not gonna say he's fine. I think, his opinions are at least bad in, like, an interesting way. I could say it's compelling to sort of watch him struggle to care for the people around him, but be pretty inept at it. But I'm not sure if Homestuck knew that about him at that point, at X6. I'm gonna have to revisit him when I talk about, like, the American Allegory, because of, like, what this character's thesis is at that point. When we're supposed to be sort of wrapping up the frictions, Dave just introduces, like, a new one, and at the point where it's definitely not an answer. Like, what he tells Rose definitely isn't an answer, and what he says to Jade definitely isn't an answer for the conditions they're in. Which is hard to fault, like, a kid in his situation for, but... It's just interesting that if you read it as a struggle against reconciling with your identity as an American in an imperialist system, and then you go, maybe imperialism's good, actually. Thank you, Dave. I don't know. It's... I think it's very interesting. I think it's also interesting how I can't draw hands for shit today. I'm just gonna lie and say that I can and that makes sense. That doesn't really make sense up there, but... don't tell anybody. As long as these guys don't tell anybody I can't draw, no one will find out. There we go. That's good enough for me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm satisfied there. I think the blade is a... I wonder about Roxy, too. I'm still trying to figure out... Still trying to figure out why the confrontation with the Condescendent feels the way it did. Well, there's one reason, and it's that the Condescension, despite, like, the narrative insisting that she's responsible for all this, and she sort of is, like, I think there's this feeling, at least there is for me, watching the final battle, that her defeat has very little to do with the frictions that are supposed to be, you know, introduced by the things she does in the story. So I'm trying to figure out foreshortening a sword in perspective. Okay, so that's a GM going on there. I almost forgot. The hilt has a very specific design Is that acceptable? Oof. Well, I've seen better from myself, but we're okay. So with Roxy's like um the actions she takes as a character to defeat the Condus, what does that, mean for her? And it's supposed to be sort of like triumphant and rising against the circumstances that she's been subjected to, but you sort of know that like the the Condus as a character is kind of a joke. Like a lot of Alternia, like the comedy comes from how much of its social systems are arbitrary, and like how much humor is sort of derived as like the silliness of Nicki Minaj running a society based on the values of the society we're in. So defeating the condescension and not having any sort of reflection on that weird friction, I think sets up Roxy to unfortunately kind of be in the situation that they are in the epilogues, where these things are happening around them and they don't really have, they aren't really able to articulate what's going on and prevent the things from happening that do happen. So I almost got a little bit excited when the epilogues happened and like, oh, it's awful? And I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense if you've got characters in this situation and they haven't ever meaningfully reflected on the real reason why these things happen, and they kind of accept these strange caricatures as the problem, when really the call is coming from inside the house, That's what always weirded me out about the ending. So you go into, this house to leave the conditions of the legacy of imperialism, but the name of the comic was almost Suburb after the name of the game, and the image of a suburban house is very loaded in that context. So to enter into like the symbol of a suburban home to escape the legacy of like the guilt from the legacy of imperialism, to me just seems like re-entering the atomized like social mode where you can protect yourself from those, you can protect yourself from the impact of that, but like what about everybody else, I guess. So when we look at like character development in Act 6, I don't think I can say that that's what happened for anybody. Okay. Oh, I was supposed to... I forgot I was supposed to do the hair now. That I have, like, all the frames. I could do that. That'd probably be more fun than I'm doing now. Yeah. I think it only helps in any analysis to consider the racial preoccupations that Homestuck has, because they're in there. It's in there. A lot. Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that, Daft. I will, I promise. I'll go figure it out. Okay. I'm doing everything so backwards. I've got to go back to sketching, sketching in the hair and the cloak and everything, and make sure that's working out. So let's give a slightly different color, and let's go and get that done. Again, geometric shapes, they're gonna only help. Pretty soon everything's gonna be about nostalgia. Just wait. uh, first everything was about, the dystopian future, and now everything's gonna be about nostalgia. Capes are hard. Like I said before, that it was going to be easy, because there's a lot more chaotic forces influencing the movement of this object, so there's like more choices could be feasibly correct. But I forgot one important detail, which is that I'm a meticulous little bastard and won't be satisfied uh, with anything ever. So that actually will make it kind of difficult. Yeah, what if we then put like a shape kind of like that? A little twist in it. I think this will look better if we sort of have like that going on potentially. Because I'd really like the feeling of this cape just sort of flying around in the wind. I want to show... very unhelpful names where I don't know which is the latest file. Wonderful. This should be fine. This one here. So we've got, for June here, yeah, there's a sort of kind of whip around than it does at the end. Let's get it a little bit faster, closer to what it's going to look like in the final. Yeah. So, this but like faster, so I just need to do, like this frame maybe like would go straight to this frame. think what I'm not getting is like with a cape there's more compression and expansion of it. So you'll have moments where it's a much thinner shape in the hood, which like maintains a more consistent conical volume. Is that how I say that word? I don't know. Okay. I should get rid of this on all frames. This is just going to be obnoxious. And then we'll have the cape sort of flare out a little bit. Like, it's going side to side a bit much. I think I could probably use more, more sort of like medium. More medium positions for it. These lines are so chaotic, they probably don't look like much right now. So you're kind of thinking about how this planar object like is impacted by the wind. When it's flat against the wind, it's gonna be pushed closer to its original shape because it's kind of got like that sort of. But when it gets pushed on like from the left or right, it's gonna crumple. And all those forces interacting can make really interesting, fun shapes, but they're easy to draw, hard to guess, I suppose. That's how I would describe them. Okay, so yeah, if I compress this one here, this one becomes a much smaller shape. I think that's going to help. this one actually would be better off to the left, huh? Okay, well that's gonna, it may not look like much now, but I think it's gonna work. I, probably want to lift this one substantially. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so... Oh, now I've got problems. Because why does that go there? You know? That'll probably be fine. I am going to get up for a moment. But then we have... Oh shoot, only 20 more minutes I plan to go, so... we'll wrap it up probably as I get back. But, yeah, it's coming along. Alright. So, the last 8 minutes, I'm just kind of going to review where we got. We finished the sketch. And now I just have to line all 14 frames, which will be fine, maybe, I don't know. Probably. For a general update on the project, tentative new day for resolve, if I manage to keep up a pace, is the 11th of next month, with the intermission coming before, and then probably back to regular updates, I would hope, by April. Oh, shit, I forgot Dune Swept. Nope, that's gonna be in development for a bit. I'm gonna get help with it, so it might be speedy, and then... Once Dune Swept is out, then that's gonna be back to regular updates. Hmm. There's a lot going on. Fandom's very active right now. I think I'm involved in, like, not including this, three other projects. Mm. Because what else are you gonna do with quarantine, I guess? There's only two shots left after this one, but one is very complicated. It's got a bunch of ocean waves I'm gonna have to draw, so that'll be interesting. I haven't really done environmental VFX like that before, so we'll have to see how it goes. I'm pretty sure I know how I want to do it. I think doing things you already know how to do is kind of boring. It's probably why I lose interest in things I'm working on. Alright, we got 5 minutes or so before I'll let myself stop for the day. I guess, are there any questions? Because I have questions for myself. I want to know why everything's taking so long. That's something I would love to know. I am going to draw the symbol by hand, huh? Dave, I think you're literally the only person, well, besides Rose, but Rose is simplified, who gets that. Everybody else, I just realized in a panic I didn't draw the symbol, and I have to paste it back in. See, you can't say I hate Dave. I spoil him. I can't say I hate any Omso character if I really think about it. The older I get, the weirder it is to hold very, like, substantial grudges against 13-year-olds. I think it's very funny now to hear genuine character discourse. don't think so. Let's try this. You know, like imply that there's just wrinkle of fabric or something. If you're not sure how to draw something, just put something weird there. Like so strange that it looks like it must be intentional. It usually works for me. There, let's do it again over here. Yeah, that'll be fine. That's good. Let's do the same over here a little bit. There, I like that. That's fine. I think that's a little strange at this point. Let's maybe calm that down. And there we go. Well, I'm giving myself 2-hour streams instead of 3 hours to kind of warm back up to it, and just had some nasty weeks there during the break, but my neck and arms seem to be doing better, so I think I'll go for a 3-hour next week, but that was today. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm gonna wait for a minute because chat is on a lag, so you guys probably won't hear me say this until, like, 2 after. Yeah, one little bit at a time. We're getting there. There's not really any sort of reason to worry about a deadline for an animation project about a, like, 10-year-old webcomic, so that's the philosophy I'm taking into it. I'm taking my time. But no one's, like, been impatient with me, so thank you everybody for that. That's nice. And I'll go ahead and wrap it up here, I think.